Welcome back to the nationally syndicated Price of Business Show. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. And I do want to remind you, it is the show that never ends. And what we mean by that is that we continue 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com. And there we are daily adding audio, video, articles, and more. Make sure you check that out. One of the people that recently got added to our team of experts is joining me today, Kevin Downs. He's got such a unique position. First of all, his experience that led to him becoming an independent insurance adjuster, which I'm going to ask him to talk about, makes him really one of the most properly poised to help his clients of people I've met, and I've met a lot of people in this industry. And I'm one of those people that advocates, I'm cheap. Ask my wife. She says I'm ridiculous. But I know the difference between penny wise and dollar foolish. And when it comes to public adjusting type issues, you don't go cheap on that unless you want to be utterly ruined, which is why we sought expertise from someone like him. In addition, he works for in both California and Florida, which are almost like complete opposites, it seems like, and also two of the most challenging ones, which makes me think Kevin Downs likes a good challenge. And I love how he can bring different perspective on that. And today we're going to talk about a fire, a devastating fire that was pretty much a 24/7 news feed about a year ago. And with that, Kevin, I'm going to refer to you. Talk a little bit about that experience that I think sets you apart, and I love. But go ahead and jump right into our topic today, and welcome.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. So as a public adjuster now for 20 years, obviously we represent the owners, not the insurance companies. And I just returned home to Florida 2 days ago from Altadena. Had been spending time in Altadena as well as the Palisades, and just really experiencing a lot of people that are starting to lose hope. It's been nearly a year. They're struggling with the insurance companies. The insurance companies are not paying them in full, or they're telling them that they have to jump through tons of hoops. And there's just very little rebuilding going on because people are struggling to get the money. And so this is exactly why they need someone like us. This is how we feed our families. And over the last 20 years, we've delivered over $2 billion to folks that are dealing with insurance claims. And we love what we do.
Yeah, you're very passionate, too, about what you do. But talk about your particular experience that made you a natural for this. That was what I was leaning into there. We've talked about it before.
So, uniquely, I came out of college, had a finance degree, and I sold insurance for the insurance companies for 5 years. So for 5 years as an agent, I was selling these policies. And when a big hurricane hit in Florida 20 years ago, I quickly realized that the real need is getting the money out of it. Anybody can buy a policy. They're quick to collect. But when it's time to get the money out of it, that's when the rubber meets the road. So I transferred over to becoming a public insurance adjuster over 20 years ago, and I started fighting for the people to get the money out of the insurance companies. And that's been quite a battle, as you can imagine, especially in states like Florida and California, where laws are just constantly changing and favoring the insurance companies. It makes it more and more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So these fires that really, I have rarely seen fires consume news cycles, no pun intended, like these fires you're talking about there in the Los Angeles area. I mean, it was incredible. I think a lot of it has to do, I don't mean to be cynical, but you would probably agree, was because of who was affected, right? Every neighborhood, there was a major celebrity, a star we've known. It was targeting those people we think of when we think of Hollywood, although not in Hollywood. It was really interesting in that dimension. But here we are a year later.
Yeah, it's been a year. The year has flown by. Two major areas were affected, two separate fires almost simultaneously. You had the beautiful area of Altadena up close to the mountains and the canyons, and then you had the Palisades in Malibu, which is where you have a lot of celebrities. And because of the winds and the fires, it was just very difficult to control it. And we're talking probably 20,000 total losses, with another 300,000 homes that were affected by smoke and soot and harmful chemicals and toxic metals. And there's a lot of people battling to get paid properly by the insurance companies, and it is a battle.
Yeah, it's interesting because, what I find interesting are these homes that you just alluded to that look okay, right? They had very minimal physical damage in terms of what's visible, but people may never be able to live in them because of how toxic they became.
It's almost worse if you had the toxins blown through your home, but it didn't burn down. And the reason I say that is because we're really fighting with these insurance companies to prove these damages. They're struggling to pay people, right? So they don't want to pay them. They're telling them, oh, just take a rag, wipe it off, or that's not covered. And what we've been doing is we've been bringing in specialized hygienists that we know, industrial hygienists. We escort them through the property, and we're finding toxic metals and chemicals and things that are well beyond, simple stuff like lead and asbestos. And that's what's allowing us to overcome these insurance companies and force them to cut these checks. So the people that have been dealing with this on their own, they're just way behind the eight ball. They let the insurance company send out their people. Miraculously, they're finding no damage. They're paying no monies, and they're just at a loss. So we're trying to find these folks because we want to go to work for them, and we want to get them a large check to restore their home.
Yeah, and you're raising a really interesting point that I've seen in emails and listener comments and such for years, actually, because we've done a lot of segments when it comes to this topic. The problem is that what's happened now? Why is it not? Why is it so difficult? Yes, it's never been easy. Yes, the relationship between a client who has an insurance policy and his or her company changes the instant they file a claim. I believe it was a Texas Supreme Court judge who described it all overnight the situation becomes adversarial. And that's not new. That's not new. But what is new is the level of resistance, the type of tactics that are being used. And I really do think it's the high cost of how fires have changed so much. Our natural disasters have changed so much to where, for example, 100-year floods are now semi-annual. I mean, it's incredible how much the environment has changed. The demand on the companies, admittedly, it's huge, isn't it, Kevin?
Very much so. Very much so. We've got a lot more disasters, and we've got a lot more power that has transferred over to the insurance companies. And so what they've been able to do is just resist the forceful nature of having to cut these checks and pay these losses. And unfortunately, the consumer is the one that's left, stuck holding the bag. Tons of properties that are damaged, that really aren't safe to be, habitable with their families, but yet they've got no other choice. They're refusing to pay them. They're refusing to send, qualified people that are truly trying to find the issues. See, that's the crux, is if your insurance company's sending out an expert, 99% of the time, those people work solely for the insurance company. And sadly, you just don't see a very unbiased approach, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And again, all the incentives on the insurance company, first of all, really always have been. This is human nature. This is, how economics works. Not to be overly cynical, but it does. But it's always been to give out as little as possible when an insurance claim comes out. That concept's not new. What is new is the amount of pressure and the number of issues they're dealing with. And, when you look at insurance, as you well know, as someone who sold and dealt with this, insurance is really a simple way of calling risk management. And risk management, I don't know if the average American could afford any kind of property insurance if they lined it up with actual risk. I mean, it's getting that way.
Very much so, especially in Florida, and now even starting to see that in California, where the premiums are so high, then you actually have a loss and you can't get any money out of them. And that's just unbelievable. So many people are frustrated. And like I said initially, they're losing hope. And I want to encourage them not to give up, not to lose hope. There's still plenty of time left to collect. But now would be a good time to go ahead and start enlisting an expert, somebody that does this for a living, day in, day out, to hold their hand and walk them through this process so they can get paid properly to restore the safety of their homes, particularly the smoke-damaged homes.
Yeah. Have you seen any numbers on people doing it alone in these fires there near the Los Angeles area versus those who have a independent adjuster? Have you seen any numbers?
Yeah, so an independent adjuster works for the insurance companies, but a public insurance adjuster works for the property owners.
The word I was fishing for is public, not independent.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Correct.
Go ahead.
No, that's okay. No problem. So amazingly, very, very few homeowners have their own public adjuster. Most are doing it on their own. I would say probably maybe 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30 might have their own adjuster. Most have really just been at the mercy of the insurance companies. And I think it's just purely from a lack of education, not realizing that we actually exist. I think if most people understood that you're going to get 500 to 700% more money with your own adjuster, they would quickly say, where do I sign? But they don't know we exist. They don't know where to find us. And so that's been a big task for us, is educating the community that, hey, we're here to help. We're here to do a free review, a free inspection, and just tell you how much more you're owed. And then you can decide if you want to appoint us as your adjuster to go get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the deal, that you're not getting paid unless you're successful.
Correct.
That's pretty powerful.
Absolutely. And we don't like working for free, Kev. So,
yeah, I know.
That's why we do these.
You seem like a capitalist to me, just like me. You sound like a capitalist. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. And that says a lot about your confidence in your ability to get these things done. And, and you talked about the percentage increase with the public adjuster. And, again, this is one of the easy to get into fields. I mean, every state has license and that type of thing, but you want to go beyond the fundamentals. To me, an edge you have is the experience of, it's almost like the guy who was a prosecuting attorney for 10 years before he became a defense attorney, right? Both sides. There's power and value to that I think brings a lot to your conversations. I encourage people to check that out. But it's not only not getting as much, it's literally like a bad game show where the insurance company is figuring out why they don't have to